Hello, I'm Fantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be talking about the new buffs and upgrades that have just been released in North America. So, I always love buffs to older or existing cards because sometimes that card that's been sitting in your monster box for a prolonged period of time collecting dust is now highly relevant and you can utilize them in meaningful ways. So I'm going to go through each of the cards individually and narrate them because my wrists are hurting. I typed a bit more for that previous article yesterday. It's probably my mistake. I should just stop using my wrists, but narration is definitely doable. So for Sharious Roots, they now have 4 skill boosts. That's a significant increase. And I feel like the main drawback is they're still not going to be highly relevant because with Triple God Killer, yes, you do have impressive damage against God-type spawns, but there are no endgame dungeons where we need to have this much God killing on a regular basis. Like World of Carnage 1 and 2 are probably the best dungeons to play right now, and God spawns are really just not going to appear. So unless the game shifts and release a brand new dungeon that's meaningful to play, that has many God spawns, I feel like Sharious Roots will not necessarily be that meaningful. For Mega Skald, she does have a 10 combo now out of nowhere, but the thing is, I feel like there's nowhere truly great to utilize her. Like, she is potentially 4 effective skill boosts. She has, I think, too many L's. There are no teams that really need this synergistic, like this L awakening. Like, it technically gives her high personal damage, but I just feel that Rose, or now the new enhanced water, or the enhanced combos where you match multiple combos of the same color, tends to be more efficient in terms of achieving damage overall. 1L is great for a team, but 4 is kind of hard unless you're always going to be matching it. And right now, there's nowhere I feel that can truly facilitate that. So it's a little saddening overall. For Typhon, he has, well, a bit of everything for his awakenings, but at least they have been condensed and improved. And he does have 777 combo. He does have the capacity to take a VDP latent, VDP super awakening, and the devil killer. So it is meaningful damage against devil type spawns. And I feel like the biggest drawback is, well, where would we want to really use him? I'm just thinking as a sub, is he going to outperform other things? Yes, he does have much more personal damage, but is it personal damage that's exceeding things? So let's think of dark teams right now. The best ones that come to mind are Mikaj and Yux and Yugi Nelle if you really want, because Nelle got buffed, so Nelle is still relevant, I feel. But point is, any of these teams transform. You see a trend. Transforming teams are what matters. And with 2 skill boosts, are you really going to outpace other transforming cards? Because if you think about it, a dupe Yux on a team is stupendously strong because it has a strong active skill. It also has way more personal damage against basically everything. So I feel like there's no truly meaningful place to use Typhon at this point in time. It is definitely stronger, but unless we start seeing dungeons where transforming is punished or not allowed, I feel like it's going to be hard to push out damage dealing transforming cards, and he doesn't bring enough utility to the team overall. For Susano, his active skill now provides 60, not 50% damage reduction, so that makes stalling a little easier. And you can argue that with the haste and the 3 turns of 60% damage reduction, you could have a couple more turns of effective skill boost. And he now has 4 skill boosts through his regular awakenings. And that is quite meaningful because with the haste, that's 5. And with the damage reduction, you can say maybe 6, maybe 7, 8 if that's possible. But the point is, you're able to drag it out a little bit longer. And he does have super blind resist. He has a team HP, and for super awakenings he can get a 7 combo, and that 7 combo is huge because now he's a 10 and a 7, so 10 times personal damage against every spawn, and dragon and devil types are going to be hit harder. And there are not as many dragons if you play World of Carnage, but if you're playing arenas, dragons are much more common, I feel, and devils are always found. There is a difficult devil floor in Shura 1, and there is devils are final spawn at the very end, but it needs void. But either way, the point is, these are much more relevant offensive awakenings, and the utility he brings means you definitely can utilize him. And the fact that he's a god, dragon, and balance type spawn means that, he's going to be able to slot it on a wider variety of teams, and he can help transforming teams. And I think he's quite a strong card now. Like, the main drawback that I can foresee is a lack of a sub-attribute, which means he only covers one color. Like, for instance, Indra kind of does a similar thing with their active skill and their awakenings. They have high effective skill boost, they have a big damage reduction active, they have the haste component as well, but Indra gives super poison, not super blind, but Indra has too many TPAs and they end up doing nothing. Susano has meaningful damage. So I feel like Susano will start appearing on more teams, assuming you can utilize any of his 3 typings and the wood color as well. And remember, damage reduction is meaningful in World of Carnage 2 because there are large unavoidable hits. Orochi just suddenly gets a 10 combo Super Awakening, and that is pretty great. And with the TPAs, you technically could have some damage, and you could have a TPA through Super Awakenings, but the thing is, well, water TPAs are not truly prevalent. Like, I guess you could argue like Sophie is a notable water TPA card, but at the same time, like, I'm not sure if I could really slot Orochi in. Maybe you could slot Orochi in if you can find a way to hit 10 combos, but 10 combos might be difficult to achieve on certain teams. And if you're not matching the TPA, a lot of this personal damage is wasted. So I feel like they're nice for their delay, but as compared to Susano and upcoming Anubis, nowhere near as impactful. I still use Orochi from time to time for various challenges because delays often solve a lot of problems, and it just makes your life a little bit easier in those regards. For Anubis, wow, Anubis got so much bigger and stronger. Like, best doggo is definitely the best doggo. Like, he has a 5-turn cooldown for his active skill. So 5-turn is definitely easy to work with. Like, it creates wood plus hazards to dark. So that in itself is okay. You get counterattack, which is probably insignificant and useless really, but it's a short base cooldown, so easy to work with. You could have 3 skill boosts with your Super Awakenings. His Super Awakenings don't give offensive awakenings, so you're probably going to have the skill boost, so at least it's 3. And with a 5-turn cooldown, you can inherit something over top to give extra effects like shields or haste or delays, whatever you want. You have that flexibility there. But what's now meaningful is now he has double 10 combo. So now Anubis with a slightly better attack set has 25 times personal damage against every spawn. Pretty outrageous. Like, as a sub, if you have teams that can regularly hit 10 combos, Anubis becomes meaningful. Like, he has a modest amount of skill boost, a short cooldown to inherit stuff. He provides a bit of bulk. He provides lots of movement time as well. I feel like he just became quite a superstar sub. And for myself, I feel like if I could utilize him, I might even just throw his weapon assist on top. So it keeps the same orb changer, but you now have 3 turns of color absorb counter. Like, basically the idea is you could throw on Anubis a fast charging active skill that you need to have at the ready. And Anubis now I feel is quite strong. As a leader, he's technically been buffed. Like, he does have a little bit of health and a very large attack multiplier because it's Anubis, but the problem is there's no bonus combos. It's hard to hit. It's really just a glorified glass cannon. I feel like his sub potential is now so much higher just because he deals meaningful damage. For the farmables that got buffed, Valkyrie now can clear hazards, and, well, that's cool, of course, as well. But these awakenings, like, yes, it looks nice. You now have large amounts of enhanced heart orbs, and in theory, you might think, well, this could be a meaningful healing stick, but you can't limit break them. You can't give them super awakenings. It's just super budget, and it doesn't really achieve much at this point in time. She's a very high rarity as well, so the low rarity challenge doesn't work. For her Anna form, yes, you do have 10 combo, 7 combo, and you could have 2 TPAs, one with the Super Awakening, but they have 1800 base attack. That's so tiny. That's not much attack. It's only 2 skill boosts, vulnerable. Like, you give some enhanced light orbs. I feel like maybe you could argue that if there was a non-transforming team, maybe this could function. Like, that enhanced heart orb combo gives you a little bit of healing, but I feel like it's just going to be hard for this farmable to keep abreast with other currently available options. And for Hell, it's trying to make poison meta. Like, if this came out like when Hell was first released, Hell could have possibly been a meaningful card to use. Like, I guess you could argue like a 7 combo, 2 poison things gives you 8 times personal damage to your TPAs, adds that up higher. Like, cool, you could have some personal damage, but I don't know, like, I don't like the idea of using like poisons and hazards to work because a lot of spawns interact negatively with them. And I guess you could argue like you're a 4 times health, 4 times recovery, 400 times attack leader. Like, you do have meaningful multipliers, but no damage reduction. The need to always match poison orbs and the fact that you have to match 6 or more, like, it's just going to be so hard to work around. Like, maybe if we get something that's a bit more durable and robust, maybe you could find a use for Hell, but I feel like it's just so situational and just almost like memey, if you may. For Whaledor, one more skill boost and more health, but one more skill boost. You now have a farmable with 6 skill boosts. Absolutely amazing. Like, just high value there. Like, such high value altogether. Like, there's no downside. Like, Whaledor is just going to be better for farming. Like, great. Whaledor is wonderful. Not much to say. Nelle has been buffed. Her leader skill now needs only 6 connected dark orbs. So, in the cases where you're playing, like, say, 3-player dungeons and you don't have 7x6, well, now you can proc a row still. So, that helps for sure. And I guess you could argue, like, pre-transform, you could utilize it to maybe get some damage reduction, but you're probably transforming right away anyways if you use them as a leader. For their weapon assist, their active skill post-transform has been buffed from 6 to 4 turns. And this is huge because it was already incredibly overtuned in my opinion. Now it creates the same column of darkened hearts and 1 turn of damage absorption counter. High value active skill. I find I use my Nelle as a sub. Like when I play self co-op with myself for Yucks, I use Nelle as a sub and she is a wonderful damage absorb counter, and now she's even better. No complaints whatsoever. Nelle's weapon has also been buffed and now cancels damage and color absorb. And it does have a long cooldown for sure, but you also generate columns of dark orbs on the left and rightmost side. So if this active skill does charge up, wonderful value for mono dark teams. It's going to give you the orbs to execute anything, and the counter of damage and color absorb is meaningful. Just be mindful it's still a reasonably long cooldown, but at the same time, this is quite a big buff because anything mono dark will gain tremendous value from this weapon, plus the fact that the weapon gives enhanced dark orbs is wonderful. Ramyu now has a 3-turn cooldown. I felt her cooldown was a little bit long, so this does definitely bring it much more on par of other, say, transforming cards, I feel. Because, like, it does create that roulette, which you do have to fish orbs out of, so, like, having at least a bit more available helps. And the auto-follow attack, because it's now 5 million, it can execute a lot of low health spawns. And one thing that I find interesting is that because of auto-follow attack, it does ignore damage and damage absorb and like damage void mechanics. So if you're like playing through like say like the lower level arenas and you're having Ramyu as a leader, you match auto follow attack, you could kill Sopdet without actually needing to use damage absorb if they're below 5 million health, which I'm pretty sure they are. So kind of an interesting thing overall, but the active skill buff is definitely helpful. Reaches in both their forms have been buffed. They're still nowhere on par with their their New Year's form, but it's definitely helpful because in their second evolved form, they have triple skill charge now. So their active skill, which is meaningful, does charge up much faster, which will help. They do have a bit more personal damage. Well, they have the same amount of personal damage. It's more so the skill charge and a bit more time extend. So it does help give them a bit of skill value, and the fact that their active skill is now a little faster could be helpful. With a 25 turn cooldown and 4 turns per activation, you could have it ready in 7 turns. So that's pretty fast overall. And then finally, Zila's buff is that she gains a bit better, like condensing some of those awakenings to the higher level values. So that's obviously helpful. And the active skill now gives you damage reduction for a single turn. So when Mono Wood starts making like a resurgence, Zila might be able to be utilized, and that damage reduction could be helpful for like say like spawns where there's unavoidable large damage. I'm not sure if like New Year's Artemis, I don't have one myself, but if New Year's Artemis can tackle like Shura 2, maybe Zila's shield could help out because then you can tank the ogres, you could tank gills at the same time. So it might be helpful perhaps, but again, these are buffs to existing cards. Like they never got worse. It does help. So with that being said, let me know what you think about these cards in the comments below. Which of these buffs do you find most exciting? For myself, I'm quite happy about Nelle because I own them. Happy about Whaledor because everyone owns them. I like Anubis's buff. That's a big amount of damage. Like Anubis can definitely be used on your Yugi Nelle teams and he will hit so hard. Susano's buff is quite meaningful as well. And I feel like those are the ones who have received the most love. But again, maybe you use other cards more. So let me know what you think about them either way. So regardless of that, hopefully you all have a fantastic day. I wish you all the best luck in your own pad adventures and happy puzzling.